Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Broken Sword 3, The Sleeping Dragon. So, we've got Nico dressed up as Petra, and she's got a key card so she can open this door, so I'll just have her use the key card on the
Hey,
door.
Nico, can you do something with this lock? I don't have anything to open it.
And then I don't know what's behind the door, really, though,
Where
so...
would you be without me, George?
We kinda know there's guards behind it, but... Unless I'm gonna send her through the door...
Nope, that wouldn't work here.
No, I'm just gonna open the door. And the idea that you have to listen through any doorway is ridiculous and just not true. In fact, there's a lot of things that have actions just because there's 4 buttons on most controllers. And that's the only reason. They're just trying to fill in those 4 actions in the lower right hand corner, which is still considerably less than the verbs you might see in a old Maniac Mansion style game, which had 9 action verbs, or similar games like that. So they've gone from a lot of point and click adventure games used to have 9 action verbs or 9 actions. Now we're down to 4, and half the time you only really need 2. You need a use and a look, and usually that's it. Maybe a combine in the menu.
Should help me move around more easily. Nico, could you turn your back, please?
You are joking.
I know, but it's these shorts. Not very flattering.
Oh, fine. Quickly, get it over and done with.
So he has her turn around so he can change his clothes. I didn't even know those were clothes
There, changed.
because I didn't look.
Oh, you look nice.
I bet you say that to all the guards.
So he changed into the same outfit as everybody else is wearing, so I guess that'll confuse them.
Just more guards' uniforms.
I guess... See, and this is the problem with the idea of uniforms as a security device. This is a weird room. Just lockers built yet rounded sections and against square sections. Doesn't make any sense. Why would you... This is way too fashion forward. And there's nothing else in this room. It's just a locker, a changing room. Why do you lock the changing room? Just so people can't get your uniforms, so you can assume everybody wearing your uniform is supposed to be there. Where good security would be that all the security guards would know all the other security guards by face and know their name, or at the very least they would have an ID that had a picture of the person that matched the face of the person that they had to wear. That's typically what you see. Because if it's just a uniform that says you're supposed to be there, the first person who quits or gets fired and doesn't turn his uniform in, your whole security system is thrown out the window. Speaking of windows, we now walk in front of this one.
Here goes.
And one assumes that the guy behind the glass...
Madame Petra, I wasn't informed you were back.
As you can see, I am. And this is urgent.
He just kind
I
of
ought to check with the front desk.
slid.
You are holding me up. Now, unless you want your appendages rearranging, I suggest you open the door.
Of course, ma'am. My apologies.
They're all terrified of her. And so we're into the next level. And remember, we are now 2 levels below that giant mansion.
It was a large metal door with a numeric keypad to one side.
And see, I don't see why you would do
I
it
couldn't
like
hear anything
this.
behind the door. Probably because it was about 5 inches thick and made of toughened steel.
Like why put the game in the same location over and over again with just different levels? These look like they are box puzzles. And it looks like there's a way over there that we're gonna have to move. And And over here is just a wall, so the first thing we should do is see if this works.
I didn't have the code to open the door, and I didn't want to risk raising the alarm.
So it's an alarm, it's a code instead of a
It was a large
key
metal
card.
door with a numeric keypad to one side.
So many varied security systems in this facility. Right. So, if I am thinking correct, we probably want that there. And then we probably want this way. And then 2 this way. Before we bother to even do this, we'll just pull this one this way. Nico in the back is stretching her arms out. Far too flamboyant of an animation. The trick to doing animations when just idle animations is that it should be very subtle things. Enough actions that the person looks like they're alive, but not enough that it looks like they're really doing anything that would actually gather anyone's attention. Her stretching her arms up is way too much action. What you would have wanted to animate with her is simple things. Simple actions. Like maybe brush her hair aside every now and then. Just a simple action like that. Scratch the back of your hand with the other hand. A look to the left, a look to the right on rare occasions. And the action should be a little bit slower. And see, when I walk in here, you can see the AI on her has been programmed just to stand in the corner and get out of the way. So we may find that we're also in a situation where I can't crawl through this. And so it's going to have to be Nico that goes through it, and we'll get separated again after just getting back together a few minutes ago.
Nico, keep quiet and come and look at this.
It's Bruno.
I don't think there's anyone in there with him.
Can we risk it?
We've got to.
And she's
Hey,
supposed to be holding on to his
Bruno,
shoulder,
It's Nico.
and George.
Hey,
but it was just clipping
nice
through.
of you to drop by.
Are you okay?
Oh, sure. I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, I'm in constant pain. I've had more electricity through me than a small town in winter. But heck, now you're here, who gives a damn?
You're so brave.
Lady, I grew up in Eastern Europe. We did torture in kindergarten.
Have you told him anything?
Everything. But the one thing Susano wants,
And what's that?
who has got the key of Solomon?
But we don't know who's got it.
Exactly.
Well, it doesn't matter now. We're coming into... Shh.
That was the gatehouse. Petra has arrived at last.
I am so pleased for you.
Thank you. I find torture such a soulless task without an audience.
Oh, I know.
And she is so imaginative. Such a source of new ideas.
I appreciate that.
Yes, Bruno, I truly believe you will. And look on the bright side. When you tell us who has the key, even then we will not kill you. We need you too much.
She came in through a
My
secret
dear
area.
girl.
Has he talked yet?
No, but I'm
Gross.
sure you will persuade him.
I'm going to enjoy it.
Now, Stobbart and the girl. I hope you bring me good news.
I found them, but I'm afraid they got away. I'm sorry.
They have too much luck.
There is worse, Master. Let him in.
All right, boss.
Not this idiot.
Forgive me, sir, but there is something you must hear. Flap, tell Senor Suzaro what you told me in Paris.
What? About that nightclub and those girls?
No, no, no. About the safe.
Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't, was it?
Wasn't what?
Wasn't safe?
Get on with it, Flap.
That Stobbart girl. She came back to the theater. Took some documents.
What documents?
A picture of a castle in Prague.
This castle.
Very good. Give the man a cigar.
Flap!
Sorry, sir.
Wait, what is that?
Do you like it? It's my new scarf. That Stobbart girl left it behind in Paris.
What is it?
You can go, Flap. Get out.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Bruno, it's your lucky day. Now I know who has the key. We do not need to put Petra to work on you.
No? How?
The emblem on the scarf. It is the crest of the St. Stephen chapter of the Knights Templar.
I thought they had disappeared centuries ago.
Clearly not. And I know exactly where to find them.
So it's the
That fool
a different chapter.
the answer all along, wrapped round his thick neck.
Collard must be working for them.
So, now we must change our plans. I shall go to Paris to retrieve the key. You take Ostwald to the armillery to prepare. Give the order that all personnel are to prepare to move out.
It's time, isn't it?
Yes, my dear. It is time.
This is so ridiculous, and I guess the guard in that room never saw Nico running around as the as Petra. Otherwise, he would realize the Petra in this room is not the same girl, or maybe the guards are so dumb that they can't even tell the difference. But we've just been crammed a ton of storyline that's really gonna probably just make us go back to France, Paris, and so our whole trip, we've been playing for nearly an hour and maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe even an hour and a half in this castle. And we aren't actually going to collect any physical item or save boars or do anything. We just got this information and then we're, I think, going to leave.
The grill looked through to some kind of office. It could give access if the grill itself wasn't in the way.
So I just need to open this grill.
The grill was screwed tight to the wall. I wasn't going to be able to pull it off with my hands.
Honestly, I don't know why they didn't just decide to
That wouldn't work here.
animate everything either with 2D animation or 3D animation out of engine, because
Nope, that wouldn't work here.
they really could have done better. I think even when this game came out, I think you have to, at a certain point, go, look, we could animate this in 2D, and we could have all the cutscenes look really good, or we could do it in engine and it's going to look
I didn't
awful.
have the code to open the door, and I didn't want to risk raising the alarm.
And at the end of the day, I think they blew their budget on some earlier cutscenes in engine. And they should have made the decision just to say, look, we've got to go back. We've got to have all the cutscenes just be 2D. It doesn't matter if it's a completely different artistic style. Let's see if she can open this.
I needed to get the grill open. That wouldn't work here.
So which of these items am I supposed to use?
Not this time.
We have a ridiculous amount of
That
items
wasn't such a good idea.
that we've picked up and held on
I thought
to.
about it, but decided not to do it.
And
That wasn't the right approach.
it's only making the puzzles more difficult.
That wasn't such a good idea.
It's possible that maybe the underwear or something else will come back into play and we'll
Thought
need
about
it, but
decided not to do it.
it's also very possible that nothing
I had
happens.
no reason to try that.
like that.
That wasn't such a good idea.
Let's see.
I had no reason to try that. The edge of the coin was just the right size to unfasten the screws.
So I didn't even know there were screws. The game didn't say that it had screws. Or maybe it did. Maybe it said it was a grill that was screwed in tight, and I just didn't realize that's what they meant.
I couldn't get through the narrow gap.
George, when I first knew you, that would have been no problem.
Guess I must be carrying a little more muscle, huh?
Yeah, the fat kind.
Okay. Look, whatever I said about you in that wig, I apologize.
Apology accepted.
Phew.
Won't make you any thinner, though.
That's pretty good. So we're gonna have to send her through there.
Nico,
Yes.
I don't like to ask, but
Would I climb through the grill and open the door from the inside?
amazing. You read my mind.
You're just so predictable, George.
Yeah, I don't know how far you go to fix this game though, because if you do the cutscenes in a completely different animation style, then things like this,
You owe me one.
That's okay. I'm not counting.
you either still do an engine, and that's not too bad, but or you replace the whole game. You like maybe have the exterior in 3D and get rid of everything else.
It's some kind of map of ley lines.
See the area in the middle?
It matches the diagram in Vernon's video.
It seems to have its focus somewhere in Egypt.
So do you think that's where they've taken Bruno?
Well, I think so. The armillary must be in Egypt.
Well, that should be easy enough to find.
Sure. I mean, how big can a country be?
Let's see. Yeah. Maybe you start to do something like Paper Mario, where you just have all the characters in 2D and all the objects in 3D. Because it's the people that look really bad. This suit of armor, not a problem. This map looks perfectly fine. It's a little cardboard and flatty, but a little bit flat, but that's
It
it.
was a map of some small country in Europe. I couldn't make out where, though. Maybe it was Cesaro's homeland.
And let's look at this book.
Books on Egypt and Egyptian culture. It would take months to trawl through this and decipher it all.
So we need to figure out how to open the door. But let's also look if there's any items.
Cesaro's desk was straight out of the Megalomaniac catalog.
And see, his office,
Aha!
again,
Look at this.
is totally out of place for the
Secret
area.
button hidden under the edge of the desk. Maybe it opens the door. The desk was too heavy to move. And besides, we needed to find a way to follow after Bruno.
So,
The panel was made of wood. I couldn't see any way of opening it.
you wouldn't even know
The
that there
release
was
mechanism
something
had to
there.
be somewhere in the room. Cesaro certainly looked after his suits of armor. I suppose even bad guys have hobbies. I would never be able to fit into that armor. In any case, what good would it do me if I could?
Yeah, I guess at a certain level, I just have to say they should have demaked the whole game. Somewhere early in development, they needed a project manager to just say, forget it. Make it all 2D
It was a
like
large
before.
shield with weapons mounted on
And
the
I
wall.
think they were far too
The shield bore a crest at the
committed to
front.
3D for that to happen. It bore a crest to what? I didn't even
I
pay
imagined
attention.
myself taking them with me, but then I thought better of it.
That shield is giant, by the way.
It was a large shield with weapons mounted on the wall.
Those weapons are giant too. Like, yeah. And sadly, there's a whole bunch of games that got big into 3D, and I guess they were necessary steps to get to the quality that we have nowadays. Arguably still not good enough as far as 3D animation, but a lot of games suffered in the attempt.
It looked like a very old map. Somewhere in England, I think.
Let's see. So we've done everything now, so hit the button.
If the world ends when I press this, then I'm sorry for all the nasty things I've ever said about you.
George, just get on with it.
Okay.
What
sorry.
nasty things.
Well done, George.
Let's go and rescue Bruno.
Out of interest, what nasty things?
Oh, you know, the usual.
The usual? Go on.
The usual. And the characters then programmed to run towards me. She took her wig off, and he took his suit, his guard uniform off. For no reason.
Andre, what are you doing here?
I thought I'd keep Beatrice company.
Andre took me to the cinema.
What did you see? Nosferatu?
George.
Andre, we need your help.
Of course.
What do you want him to do?
That symbol on the scarf?
Yes?
Cesaro recognized it instantly.
It's the coat of arms of the St. Stephen chapter of the Templars.
My God.
What?
I always thought it was just a story.
Look, Andre.
Really?
You know.
Tell us, chérie.
The
After
St.
already
chapter
dealing with the
was reputed
Templars?
to have escaped the Inquisition by hiding in secret chambers. Somewhere in Paris. No one knew where, though previously they had their base near the old church at Montfaucon.
Maybe I can
Which
find
is the place
clue
we've already
to
been
the
to.
place.
What do you mean?
The Templars used to meet in secret in the catacombs there.
Of course.
There's more.
Go on.
It involves the founding of the chapter.
We don't have time for tales, Andre.
Listen, Nico. If there's one thing I've come to realize, it's that you can't have too much information. Carry on, Andre.
Thank you, George. When the Templars were in possession of the Temple Mount in Israel, they discovered a holy relic. A young knight, Stefan, was given the task of transporting it secretly to France. He traveled north through Galilee and then headed to the coast where he boarded a ship destined for the river Po. Making his way up the Po Valley, Stefan avoided known dangers to the west by heading north to the Rheingau. Pursued into France by the forces of a treasure-hunting prince, he was forced to make a stand in the mountains of Reims. Though able to dispose of his foes, he was fatally wounded. Bravely, he continued to his destination, the Bérentoire Preceptory, handed the relic to the master of the chapter, then died. The order changed its name to Saint-Stéphane, in honor of the brave knight, and relocated to Paris.
It's like a fairy tale.
Good grief.
I'm going to head for Montfaucon to look for clues. Nico?
You go without me, George. Andre and I will see if we can work out the exact location in Egypt.
Right. Well, I'll see you soon then.
Off you go, George.
Now, what's interesting here, it's been hours.
I was back in Montfaucon Square. after all these
But
years. Beneath the cobbles lay a hidden world of ancient...
Andre,
catacombs, some of it built by the Knights Templar as a meeting place and sanctuary. Once again, I was going to have to go down there to discover the truth.
now that he's done talking, Andre should actually have been in there, that apartment, because remember, hours and hours ago in the gameplay, people broke into Nico's apartment, and they were all supposed to hang out at that location and hide there. So I guess maybe the thought was they didn't get a look of Andre, so Andre wasn't in danger, so he could have just stayed at his place. I guess that kind of makes sense, but otherwise it doesn't. The questioning there is simply to imply that he's dating Beatrice, whose boyfriend was just murdered, so he's really swooping in for the kill. That's a little bit of a difficult situation, definitely. I mean, the person needs emotional support, but probably not romantic support there. And see, if you are overly helpful on giving emotional support, it may easily turn into romantic feelings by Beatrice because of all the trauma she's inflicted. Look here on the shadows here, on the barriers. Inherently, this is a problem you don't have to worry about in two-dimensional point-and-click adventure games. Is you just have an edge of a screen that is known and understood to be part of the edge of the world. Instead, we have a large area in this section that sort of is an expansion on what we had before. Here's that lady. And here's I do believe this is known as a pissoir. It's just an open air toilet. And she's guarding it, and she's sitting in a way out of scale, huge chair. Either that or she's very small herself. And then this way, I imagine we'll just hit an invisible barrier that tells us not to go any further.
No, I wasn't leaving here until I had something to show for it.
And so we're going to have to run around here, and we're going to get a little bit more into the point-and-click gameplay, hopefully, instead of doing what we have been doing, which has been a lot of jumping and hiding and creeping and very little actual adventuring as far as point-and-click adventure style.
No, I wasn't leaving here until I had something to show for it.
We can see that there's a guy working on the street, and in the game, if the camera angle would change, these archways were opened up, so this church is actually looks different than it did there. So in Broken Sword 1, and maybe even for a small section, I think in Broken Sword 2, there was this cafe, and you were right here, and then you could walk from the cafe to this point and into the church, and going to about the right of this line that George is walking, all of this has been added over here, and the camera's changing, and all of this in the foreground has unnecessarily been added to. So let's read what the cafe has to say. It's probably closed because all the roads are closed.
On the boarded up door was a notice. Due to local seismic events and out of concern for the safety of our patrons, we will be closed for the foreseeable future. I didn't want the notice, and I didn't want to break into the cafe.
Well, that answers two things right there. And then there's like a security code panel there that is just there. We'll look at this. Maybe this will open up.
One of these days, I was going to see this fountain working. Not today, though. There wasn't a whole bunch I could do with the fountain except admire it.
So in Broken Sword 1, we dealt with a guy who had tools that we needed. Let's look in here.
The guy was sleeping like a baby.
And then we have another guy sleeping in the truck.
I'd seen dead people with more life in him than this guy.
And so we've got this guy with a jackhammer. We've got this sewer tunnel.
The Montfaucon manhole. Happy memories.
So if he had something, he could lift it up.
Iron cover like that with my bare hands.
Let's see. Do we have that rod? Yes, we do. Will that work? Do we have anything else? Not really. There's a bag of tools here.
In the open tool bag, I could see a sewer key.
So we're gonna get a sewer key again.
In the open tool bag, I could see a sewer key.
Hey, monsieur! Leave those tools alone!
Me? Oh, I was just admiring them.
Well, do it from further away!
I mean, this, I think, was the exact line of dialogue from the first game, too. So, it's kind of a nice little homage to the game, to the original game. But also it's kind of just repeating the original game, too. When's the last time we saved? It's been a while. It's been, like, when we look here, it's been almost 9 hours of gameplay. And frankly, we know that there's at least 2 more locations, because we've got to get under here and we've got to get to the armory, unless the game ended before we even got to the main location that we've been trying to get to this whole time, which is kind of what the armory is. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it right. So yeah, this game is going longer than it probably should. That is pretty typical of point-and-click adventure games, though. They seem to hang around past their welcome every now and then. Anywho, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.